Welcome to the KimAppa Podcast. Jared and Robbie here. We're doing something a bit weird this week because, of course, there is an IPL final, and me and Robbie both wanted to talk about it, but we also wanted to talk about before the game and after the game. Both of us
Mm.
are very tired because that game went for 19 hours yesterday. I
It
wasn't
did, didn't it?
working, so I was hosting a barbecue, but the game went so long that I ended up having to watch the game as well. So
Dude,
I
how many
watched,
things do you actually do? What are you
I,
doing hosting a barbecue?
yeah, I
What,
host barbecues.
what is,
When you come
how are
over,
you
you have
still
no idea.
married?
Oh, well, my wife was part of the barbecue, to be fair.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
you
fair
know,
enough.
she was co-hosting. Well, actually, she was hosting and I was co-hosting. Don't worry, I'll make you a mad barbecue when you come over.
Yeah,
This is what I want to talk to you about, though. We'll do a short podcast today, and then we'll do the long one
yeah.
after the game, but on Wednesday. But I want to ask you from a batting perspective, what is Shreyas Iyer doing now that he wasn't doing, let's say, last year or the year before? Because I think last year was a transition year for him. He was
Mm,
basically been an anchor for a long time. And
mm.
yesterday he did anchor and then he went mad. But this year sometimes we've seen him come out and slog. Last year with KKR occasionally came out and hit quite quickly as well. It feels to me from the outside like something's changed. And I know some of it is the short ball, but it just feels like he's more aggressive and he wants to make an impact. Whereas before he was almost a fluid batter, right? He went with the water.
Um, yeah, I think right now, when I look at him, I think technically there's a lot of things that he's kind of changed up a little bit. Before, the bat used to come more from third slip, or second or third slip. Now it's coming from between point and gully, right? So he set his I think his technique up to a way that suits white ball cricket, and you can see his hands kind of go away from him before looping back in, right? And he gets ready early. That's a key thing about his batting. And now with the short ball, if you watch the way he's playing the short ball, he's actually getting tall, rather than getting small on the short ball. Rather than becoming a small target, he's getting tall. He's trying to get a top of the ball, right?
Mm.
And now he's not backing away and playing that shot that he used to play last year, which is like an escape shot, but not confronting, the devils that exists within you. And I think he's actually confronted them, and he's dealt with the devils inside of his head, as far as the short ball is concerned. And I think, which is why right now, I remember actually speaking to him, and I said, "So how did you negotiate that whole thing?" He said, "In the past, I would actually not be sure if I want to be aggressive or if I want to just kind of let it go. And I found myself becoming indecisive about the short ball. I never really felt I had a problem against the short ball. I just felt that if I could be a little bit more decisive about it, then I would play it well. And now I've gotten to a point where I'm clear that I'm just going to be aggressive with it. And that's going to be my first option, irrespective of anything. First option is to hit the ball for 4 or 6. Then everything else comes, right? And now that's what you see him doing. You see him getting tall. He's trying to hit
Yeah.
in front of square for 6. And if it's too high, then he's got the ramp shot as well, which is really cool. And I think his leadership skills and his confidence within that leadership skills has had a huge impact on him as a batter, and in the most positive sense. You could see that in the previous game when they lost against RCB, he said, "We've lost the battle, but not the war."
Mm.
And if you saw his demeanor through the course of that innings, even after he won the game, he was still very grounded. He didn't get excitable at all. He knew that the his eyes were on the prize. And if you listen to that post match, not the conference but the presentation, you would have seen how well he spoke as well, and how clear he was about, I know what I'm going after. I'm made for these big occasions, and
Mm.
I know, that how I deal with the team. I don't interfere with them. I let them just express themselves and be themselves, because I love how they are. And so clearly there's a sense of, he revealed, or a little bit of his leadership style, which I think is quite nice, and gave me an insight into his leadership style as well. And I think it's going to be like one juggernaut of a game, man, that final.
Now, where are you on Virat Kohli here? Is it, are you like a player of his level just has to win an IPL title, and so you're going for RCB? And I know that you've played for RCB and been involved, and You played for everyone, actually. You played for more teams than actually exist in the IPL, I'm pretty sure.
No, 6.
6 teams.
Don't push it.
Yeah, but like, are you just one of those, like, but it's also a great story for Punjab, right? Like, so, like, I get that. I don't think I'll put it this way. I don't think there's a bad loser. Sometimes you come in and you just like Australia's playing in a World Cup against like New Zealand and in a final, and you're just like, well, it just has to be New Zealand win. If New Zealand don't win, it's just like, well, we've seen Australia win before, right? This feels
Yeah,
like
it's
to me
like,
there is a genuine reason for both teams to win from a narrative point of view as neutrals, and I'm a neutral. You obviously, are a hater. I'm just going by the comments.
everybody actually thinks that I'm a hater. I'm actually not. I actually want RCB to win because because I've played for that franchise and I know what it means to be really close to winning the championship and then losing it out, losing out at the last minute. And that's happened to me. And I was batting at the crease when it happened. So I've actually felt the burn, and I've felt that pinch and that pain for years. As a cricketer, and people don't stop reminding me about that, and every time someone reminds me about that, there's a little part of me that goes back to that 1 week after that game and how I kind of was trying to process the whole pain and how crazy I felt, because it's such a crazy year for me from moving from Mumbai Indians and having imposter syndrome, and then suddenly feeling like, okay, this is my team, and then getting really close and losing it, and then taking the whole responsibility of losing it on me, and it just didn't feel right. And so every time someone reminds me, it takes me back to that place, and so for that reason, and the fact that I'm from Bangalore, and this is one of my three favorite teams in the IPL, and notwithstanding the players, I want to win this because I want RCB to win this because of the families of the players and the fans themselves, because I think and also the support staff that have been there right from day one. There's Evan Speechley, who's who's been the physio of RCB from year one. There's Shankar Basu, who's been the coach, strength coach from year one. There are quite a lot of unsung heroes within that side who've been there from year one, and a lot of things that aren't noticed about franchise cricket are the outliers, are the guys who are behind the scenes. I've been really impressed with the way Mobo Bhatt, Dinesh Karthik, Andy Flower, and their entire backroom staff have been absolutely incredible with this franchise this year. From the preparation for the auctions, and post the auctions, and when they got Josh Hazelwood and Bhuvi, I was like, dude, I'm giving them a strong chance this year because I think they're going to be
you
right
talked
up
them
there.
up, because you remember my issue was that they weren't going to be able to take wickets. It's not that I didn't think they were a good side. I thought I really liked their batting, and I thought they were a good defensive bowling lineup. But I was like, how are they going to take wickets? And they've had two just freaky outlier seasons from Hazelwood and Krunal Pandya. And when you get that, if you look at it, look at the Sunrisers. Sunrisers, eventually the form started to even off, and you're like, oh, if that had happened a little bit earlier, they probably make it to the playoffs.
They didn't even off. They just last game they got a big win. That's all.
No, but they ended up actually winning games, whereas the first half of the season they didn't win any games. Like they started first game and last game was when they batted correctly. But my point is that they had a bunch of players, whether it be Shami, whether it be Zampa, Natarajan, who had injuries and bad form, and then they had a bunch of batters who just didn't have the same level of form before, right? There's not much you could do about that. When it goes the other way, though, and Hazelwood has perhaps his best strike bowling year ever, and Krunal Pandya has perhaps his best strike bowling season ever, and you've got this really good hitting, you kind of just have to take it, right? Like you have to. This is the moment where it's like all those other times we looked at RCB and we've been like, oh, this can go right, this can go wrong, and everything else. It just works, and I can tell you how much I think things have gone towards them this year. It was when Salt wasn't there and Bessel came in and he did the Salt job. And you're just like, oh, God, this is just like, these things are just happening. The other side, I still really like Punjab. And it's for me that it doesn't matter who wins here, because I'll be happy for, for either side, because the fan bases just deserve it, right? And, RCB's fans we've talked about it before. They are so passionate. They are so
Yeah,
engaged. They deserve a title. But those Punjab fans, people
100%.
have been making fun of them for ages, right? And now they finally have a team. So I'm really happy for both. Here's my thing, though, at the moment. I've gone through the teams quite closely. They're pretty similar, like at a pretty similar level, I should say. I think RCB are probably slightly stronger, all things considered. But there's a really funny matchup here. Arshdeep basically doesn't bowl well against anyone who isn't Salt, right? And Chahal basically bowls great against everyone who isn't Patida. And so it could be, and Arshdeep hasn't been in great form. So how they use if he's fit, by the way, because he's still
He played the
limping
last
around.
game. He played yesterday.
Yeah. Did he look fit though? He played.
He never looks fit. Let's
He is. He is.
he just looks alive, and I'm happy
Yeah.
for UZ to be alive and bowl. You know what I mean?
I
He
do
never
love.
looked fit.
I do love that he's one of the proper throwbacks. I love when him and Varun Chakravarti and Kuldeep. I was just like, it's so great we still have bowlers who come through who can't field anymore because we should
Yeah.
be beyond that in cricket, Robbie, and somehow we're
No,
not
we
beyond
shouldn't.
that in cricket.
Like we shouldn't. Like, right, guys, come on. Like there should be something consistent about the game, no matter what. There should be two, like in every team, there should be two fast bowlers who don't know how to freaking hold a bat. And
Yeah.
there should be one spinner who does not field well.
Have you? This is completely off, but it's worth watching Josh Chung if he plays against India this year. Sometimes I watch Josh Chung in the field, and I think, is he actually paying attention? Like, is he watching the cricket, or is something else going on? Because he is such a space cadet out in the field. I love it. I love it. It's like watching
Bro,
an under 11, where you're like, wait a
I,
minute.
I miss a little bit of village in international cricket. You know what I mean? We need that a little bit.
So just get back to our point before we completely.
Yeah.
I think the matchup thing is really interesting. Arshdeep has stopped taking wickets early on, which I think is very crucial here. He
So I
certainly
think
needs to
Arshdeep
get
has gotten
salt.
desperate right now. I think he's trying too hard to make an impact. I think if he goes back to just hitting the right areas and trying to swing the ball well from the right areas, and if he's clever about that, I have like without an iota of a doubt that he will do really well. I think as far as RCB is concerned, their spearheads are Bhuvi and Josh, and with the spinners, funnily enough, I think it's Suyash. And I think if Suyash gets things right, Krunal becomes that much more effective. And the same with Josh and Bhuvi. When Josh get things right, then Bhuvi becomes that much more effective. And that's why I feel we saw a little bit of a slump when Josh was away and Bhuvi had to spearhead the bowling lineup. And let's
Yeah,
not
no,
forget, Yash Dayal's also been bowling pretty well in the middle overs and in the death.
I think Suyans is, off the top of my head, he's a really interesting one. He either gets wickets or he doesn't get wickets, right?
Yeah.
Like he's had a lot of
Yeah,
games
it's
with
just
no wickets at all, and then
yeah.
occasionally he'll get a pitch where he's right. I think he has a technical issue with his bowling, which means it's always going to be hard for him to be consistent on length because of the sort of the way he drops his head and he sort of slings the ball. But when he gets it right, that's actually a really hard technique to face. We're going old
Yeah,
school here.
I think he's
but
gotten it right. But I'll tell you what, it's an interesting point you make, Jar, and sorry for interjecting you, but
No, go.
I think he's addressed it to a certain extent, to be honest. If you saw him last year, the way he ran through his bowling, his run-up was very quick. So because he ran so quickly through his run-up, he has to go through his action also very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But this year, interestingly, when he's bowled well, he's running slower through his run-up. And because his natural action is pretty complex, where he drops his shoulder and his head and then he bowls from a much straighter trajectory, I feel like his margin of error becomes very, very small with a quick run-up. So with a slower run-up, his margin of error is way bigger, and I think he becomes way more accurate. And I think we've seen him make that change consciously. And you can see him calming himself down, because when you get nervy, you can actually go through things pretty quickly, right? We can be a little rushed about all of our, skills. And you can see him consciously calming himself down, before bowling each over. So I think there's been a conscious effort towards that front, which I think has been phenomenal. And I think he has to get his length right. The minute he gets his length right, because the line generally is pretty much on the stumps.
It's length with him. I just don't think he can control it as much as anyone else. It's a really weird thing with leg spin is you want momentum through the crease, but pace through the crease doesn't help as much. You almost want to be
No.
flowing through the crease. And
Yes.
there's a whole
Yes.
generation of leg spinners who got ruined by Shane Warne because everyone tried to copy him. But it's like
Yeah.
most of us are not strong like Shane Warne. We actually need to be able to go through. It's a fascinating one. I think he's a really good one. But yeah, Arshdeep versus Salt, I think is really, really crucial. And how they use Chahal all the way through is going to be fascinating. But maybe the whole game, is Hazelwood versus Shreyas Iyer. Because Shreyas is looking great against everyone else. And when he faces Josh Hazelwood, he looks like me.
I'll tell you what. I think one of the youngsters will throw up a surprise.
Ooh.
But I'll tell you what. Yeah, and I suspect it'll be Prab or Priyansh. I also think from RCB it could be Mayank, who people are not necessarily thinking about because he's just come in and his technique has changed, so there's not too much information about how he's going to play or how he's going to approach it. And 1 second, I have a friend of mine who's come. You want to join me or you want to stand there?
Oh my God!
There she is.
Oh, hello.
That's
One day we'll have to get.
Jared.
One day we'll have to get all of the little kids on the one stage just to get more subscribers. Yeah. Not because we love our children, but just to get more subscribers.
Yeah, she's a quiet one. She's more an observer than Neil is. Neil is more like she's a little bit of an introvert and Neil's a little bit of an extrovert, and so she takes her time, and that's why she's like, "Who is this uncle?" She can't hear you because I've got you on my ear. But yeah, there you are. So I was saying, I feel like one of the youngsters will throw up a surprise, and I actually feel that, and I like the fact that this game is happening because two of the best sides in the IPL are going up against each other. And what I desire is for RCB to dominate the best side in the IPL and win the championship and just shut everybody down, right? When I think of this strictly from an RCB's point of view, from an RCB's fan base point of view, I wanted this game to happen. Because then, for all the ragging that all the other teams have done, CSK, Mumbai, KKR, or Rajasthan, or GT, or Delhi, or any teams that have ragged RCB fans or had something to say about the lollipop or this or that or anything of that sort, this will well and truly shut all of them up.
Well, I don't think it will. I think beating Mumbai would have done that. Because what will happen is everyone will be like, but it was only Punjab and they're not a real team and they've never won a title.
I'll tell you what.
This is the thing. You're thinking like a cricketer. That's not how cricketers think. I think like a troll.
I'll tell you what. When they win this one, I suspect what's going to happen is that the floodgates are going to open and be like just phew. And I think next year is when they start dominating the big sides. And then when they have great years. Got to remember, this was an odd year, right? And so it was supposed to be Mumbai's year. Generally, odd years are Mumbai's years. But 2020 was the last time they won it. So they might have just moved to the even years, And we've seen RCB dominate Mumbai in the past. We've seen that happen. It's not like it hasn't happened. But I think this year we just want to win the championship and then, move on to.
Did you just say we?
For me.
Did you just say
I'll tell you what. And that's why I said I'll tell you what. I'm saying we because for me, if RCB, KKR, or CSK are in the running, I'm always going to say we, right? Okay. Because those are my favorite sides. I've played for them. So I think I have the right to say we. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you could say we about most of the league.
No, I can't. I can't say we about Mumbai because I played only 1 year in the first year. So I can't say we. I can't say we about Rajasthan.
For the rest of the time we do this podcast, I'm going to wait until you say we for Mumbai and then call you out on it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Never.
As I said, it doesn't really matter to me who wins because I kind of feel that it's just great that we're seeing a new we're going to see a new champion come through, and for me that's kind of what's more interesting from my point of view. I think that and we'll finish up Virat, and then we'll quickly talk about Heinrich Klaassen as well. But I just think from Virat's point of view that in 20 years' time, if the IPL keeps getting as big as it is, even though he'll be a legend for what he's done for India, he needs a title just so that people in 20 years' time go, he didn't even win a title in the IPL. And you're like, yeah, but you should have seen some of the clown show teams they put up against. He had Robin Uthappa for ages and he couldn't do anything.
No, 2 years. And he was too young also back then.
So I think just even that one title, and then it can be like that gets put to rest, right? And
yeah, I think
just want to.
I think even the thing is, even amongst peers, it'll be like the NBA, like what's happened to Charles Barkley, right?
Yep.
Like what a great player, but just not won an NBA. So all of his mates kind of shut him down, right?
You want to be Dirk Nowitzki, you don't want to be Charles Barkley, right? And I watched both of those guys play. Charles Barkley was a better player than Dirk Nowitzki, but you just need the one title to be able to do that. So I'm with you, man. I think that's true. So it'd be interesting to see how we go. I've checked all the numbers in the analytics. These teams are really, really closely rated. So there's not much between it. There's no clear favorite, but RCB are like, I think Rob Barron said they were a 52% chance of winning compared to 48. So almost 50-50. And just on Heinrich Klaassen retiring, a lot of people in the chat are talking about Heinrich Klaassen retiring and trying to bring up race and all this sort of stuff. Heinrich Klaassen is not retiring from South Africa because of race. He's retiring because, sadly, South African cricketers still don't make a lot of money. And the most money that they can make is in franchise cricket. And that has been the same when it was county cricket, when they were Colpacks, when T20 cricket, and everything else. Sadly, there's just not a lot of money within South African cricket. So we're going to have these guys retire earlier than they should over and over again.
Yeah, and see, I don't know why people aren't like waking up and smelling the coffee here, right?
Yeah.
Cricket has evolved past international cricket, right? Yeah. And we have moved to the place of franchise cricket right now. And if everyone are sitting and judging international cricketers calling time on their international careers, then you're living in the past. Right? You got to get with the game and understand that, get with the times and understand that, okay, this is where cricket's at. And ICC would be remiss if they don't evolve with the game right now. What they should do is be worried about, organizing international leagues or getting all the leagues to kind of come together and become like what FIFA does, right? The UEFA, or I don't know how much I don't follow football that much, but I know that UEFA does come under FIFA.
You're talking about Champions League,
League, and the likes of that, and to take the game to different parts of the world, to use different versions of the game to make the game more global. You can't keep the game within 12 countries and imagine that this is going to become a global phenomenon. Now, if 12 countries, and the leagues that exist today, if the game is as rich as it is, then imagine if we had 50 countries playing the game properly. You know what I mean? 50 countries competing in the world, but you had a 2024 team World Cup happen every 4 years. Like, look at the volume, even from a business point of view, even a revenue point of view that would make. I don't understand why we're still doing bilateral cricket. I understand Test cricket, you need to do that. That's great. But bilateral cricket, it's numbing. It's like, what are we playing this for? What is this account for? Like, this is stat padding provided by ICC, basically.
When you turn on the TV and you're like, Bangladesh are playing Pakistan? Like, what?
For what?
Why? And then the next day it's West Indies, England, and you're like, wait, what? What is happening now? It's a real mess. I'll tell you something interesting about football is that because the FA didn't want to be involved in FIFA, football actually grows really, really quickly because the English aren't there to stifle the growth by telling everyone who's a proper team and who's not a proper team. And in cricket, it's actually South Africa that caused the problem. Because when they formed the ICC, they go, suck up to England, they say it can only be empire countries, right? It can only be Commonwealth countries. And simple mistake like that in 1908, I think it was, has essentially allowed football to grow and cricket has been stifled. Now, I'm not saying cricket would ever be at the level of football because football's so easy to play and everything else.
Affordable, but it's like, and all of that.
We should be, every time a decision is made in cricket, it should be made with that in mind of like, we fucked up for so long, let's try and get something right. But instead, it's like, maybe we can get more bilaterals in, Robbie.
No, it's so stupid. Like, what are we playing bilaterals for? These bilaterals should officially be called friendlies. right?
Oh, I like that. Let's move it on.
Just call
That's
them
it.
friendlies.
This is our first agenda on KimAppa is that rename bilaterals friendlies. I'm 100% with
Friendlies.
that. I've
Yeah.
written about that before. Me and Robbie 100% aligned on this.
Yeah.
That's it for the KimAppa today. We
Mm.
will be back on Wednesday sometime to talk about the
Yeah.
final when that's happened. But thank you to everyone. We turned up
I'll
just so
tell you
everyone
what,
knows.
maybe we should do a live immediately after the game.
Are you not commentating?
No,
Okay.
I'm
I'm
here.
doing a watch along. I'll be free about, I don't know why we're talking business now, but I'll be free about half an hour after the game. But I'm down for that, mate. You know me. I'm basically broadcasting on my own most of the time. It's just
Yeah.
my family just don't listen.
It's a miracle that you're still married and
Yeah.
your kids
I,
still love you.
yeah. Well, my kids
Uh,
spend half their time. My kids spend half their time coming in while I'm doing podcasts these days. So apparently
yeah.
that's the only way I get to see them.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that I think you should allow that to happen. I think it becomes more, I think it's going to be more acceptable as well by the viewers. I think you'll become
Yeah.
more endearing by doing that.
You haven't seen that though. I've already sent you a WhatsApp saying that's enough. We've had your child on once now. That's enough. Thanks, Robbie. KimAppa will be back on, well, maybe after the final, but
Yeah. We'll let you know.
certainly at one stage. Thanks for everyone's support, and we'll see you again very soon.